Let's talk about something that sounds boring but actually affects paychecks, job opportunities, and how fast a country becomes more prosperous. Productivity growth. Since the 2008 financial crash, and especially after COVID, productivity in many advanced economies has been flatlining. In the UK, labor productivity growth slowed from an average of 1.9% per year between 1993 and 2008 to just 0.4% between 2008 and 2023. From 2010 to 2022, GDP per hour worked grew at only 0.5% annually, well below comparable countries. That means people may be working more, but aren't producing or earning more, and standards of living are stuck. So what's behind this slowdown? A group of economists, led by Professor Patrick Minford at Cardiff University, tested this using real data. Their conclusion? Growth isn't random, it's driven by incentives. The research found that the engine of economic growth is entrepreneurship. Individuals launching businesses, building products, and improving processes. But here's the catch. Entrepreneurs only take risks when the system rewards them. That means lower taxes on businesses. UK corporation tax is currently 25% for profits over £250,000 and 19% for small profits below £50,000. Mass capital in the hands of those willing to innovate. Despite a relatively low headline rate, the UK's investment allowances are among the least generous in the OECD, limiting effective support for business investment. Less red tape and regulation. This is known as endogenous growth theory, and the team used indirect inference, essentially a virtual economics lab, to test how well the model reflects real-world outcomes. But what about housing and infrastructure? Some argue that government spending on housing construction and infrastructure drives growth. Early data shows UK infrastructure investment rose nearly 10% in 2022, reaching £26 billion, with most of this going to transport projects like roads and rail. The team added planning permissions and public infrastructure investment into the model to test their effects. Result? They didn't move the needle. Housing and infrastructure spending made no significant contribution to explaining productivity growth once taxes and incentives were accounted for. In fact, models excluding tax and inequality measures completely failed. The data speaks for itself. Between the 1980s and early 2000s, after tax cuts and deregulation, the UK's GDP per capita overtook France and Germany. Since then, as tax pressure climbed and regulation increased, some under EU influence, growth has sputtered. This isn't just theory, it's hard data. The UK's productivity remains notably below comparable countries, and its growth ranking has fallen dramatically. Why does this matter? Because the economy responds to incentives. If entrepreneurs are taxed more and regulated heavily, they innovate less, and the whole economy slows. Yes, infrastructure and housing matter for daily life. But when it comes to real productivity growth, the kind that boosts living standards, it's crucial to make it easier and more rewarding for risk-takers to build and invent. That's where policy becomes crucial. The UK government, under Chancellor Rachel Reeves, is pushing planning reforms and infrastructure investment. But their October 2024 budget raised around £40 billion in new taxes, the biggest hike since 1993. At the same time, the UK's tax burden is heading toward a post-war high, projected at 37.7% of GDP by 2027-28. So what's the prediction? Unless the UK revives an incentive-driven model, like the one that sparked growth in the 1980s and early 2000s, real productivity growth is likely to stay sluggish. Approval of homes and roads alone won't revive the economy. This is about more than numbers. It's about shaping the future through tax policy, regulation, and encouraging creativity. London's skyline is a testament to ambition and resilience, each building a chapter in the nation's economic journey. From the historic heart of the city to its modern financial districts, these landmarks reflect centuries of innovation and global influence. The bridges, towers, and bustling streets are more than scenery. They symbolize the UK's drive to connect, create, and compete on the world stage. Every stone and steel beam tells a story of visionaries who dared to build for the future. As the city evolves, these icons remind us that real growth is rooted in bold ideas and enduring ambition. So what's the prediction? Unless the UK revives an incentive-driven model, like the one that sparked growth in the 1980s and early 2000s, real productivity growth is likely to stay sluggish. Approval of homes and roads alone won't revive the economy. This is about more than numbers. It's about shaping the future through tax policy, regulation, and encouraging creativity. Because the economy responds to incentives. If entrepreneurs are taxed more and regulated heavily, they innovate less, and the whole economy slows. Yes, infrastructure and housing matter for daily life. But when it comes to real productivity growth, the kind that boosts living standards, it's crucial to make it easier and more rewarding for risk-takers to build and invent. That's where policy becomes crucial. If you found this insightful, hit the like button to help others understand how the economy really works. Subscribe for more clear-eyed content on economics, innovation, and public policy. Drop a comment with your thoughts. How should the UK incentivize growth next? Thanks for watching. And remember, real growth starts with real incentives.